Okay, and I think we're live. So, hello and welcome to Achieving Marketing KPIs through virtual and hybrid events from Glisser. Thanks for those that are tuning in live today and also to those that are watching on demand. My name is Dan Assor. I'll be your host for the next 45 minutes or so. We're always good on these panel discussions to let us know that you're here and where you're watching from by leaving a question on the platform. Also, please feel free to ask questions as we go along and I'll present those to my esteemed panelists. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my fantastic panel today. First up is Derek Johnson. Hello, Derek.
Hello, hello.
So Derek is beaming in all the way from Washington. I'm in the UK. So Derek is the Chief Diversity Officer and Director of Event Strategy at Tally Management Group. And Tally provide associations and non-profit organizations with full service and customizable solutions to facilitate growth and expansion. That was a bit of a mouthful. And you're also on the PCMA Board of Directors, I believe. So thank you for joining us. And welcome, Dave Stevens. Hey, Dave.
Hi, everyone.
So, Dave, you're about 60 miles east of San Francisco. At least that's what you told me before we came live. So,
that is correct.
So it's just about 7 a.m. So thanks for joining us so early. Dave is the Director of Global Events and Field Marketing at Elation, which is a data intelligence platform, and is a Silicon Valley native who has worked in events for the past 20 years. So welcome, Dave. Finally, last but not least, we have Liz Jordan. Hi, Liz.
Hi, guys.
Liz is beaming all the way from Brooklyn, New York. So we've got quite a spread today. Thank you. Liz is the Senior Project Manager, Corporate Events Division at First Solutions, Global Brand Experience Agency. And Liz has got many years of corporate event experience from high fashion luxury events and product launches to non-profit conferences and galas. So we should have a panel that knows what they're talking about today. So fantastic. People that are listening live, one of our own KPIs when we do these sort of things is audience participation. So with that in mind, we're going to start by asking you, the audience, a quick question, which will appear on screen in a few seconds. And the question is this. In one word, what's your most challenging KPI to achieve? So in one word, what's your most challenging KPI to achieve? The results will appear roughly in the next 15 minutes. We'll have a quick discussion about it. There appear as a word cloud. So please just give us your one word on what's your most challenging KPI. Moving on. On to the panel, because everyone wants to hear from them and not me. Quick lightning question. I'm going to go to you, Dave, first. Define hybrid.
Anybody watching the Olympics?
I am.
We have an even better opportunity because I haven't done the research to find out if there's an app or any online tools. But if you combine social media with the Olympics, you have hybrid.
Thank you. Derek?
Yeah, so for me, it's all about the attendee experience and also ensuring that we are not compromising engagement for folks that may be in the space or out of the space. So it's combining the actual experience in person and virtually.
Sure, thank you. And say for you, Liz, what's your definition of hybrid?
Yeah, similarly to Derek, so we've gone about defining hybrid based on the attendee experience. So anything where we're including attendees outside of the physical space where the presentations are happening, we consider hybrid events.
So, thank you. So I guess the panel would agree. We should certainly avoid making an event hybrid for the sake of it, right? So when do we feel it's important and and it's viable to consider making an event a hybrid one? Dave, back to you.
I think objective is first. What are you trying to accomplish with the event? How are you measuring success? If your main objective is so people can hug each other again, then going online is counterintuitive. But I think defining objective first and foremost, as usual. I think that's one of the things that we've all had to get back to is our roots. What's the point? What are we trying to accomplish? And then after that, it's based on your attendees. Everyone's at a point where they want what they want, when and how they want it. That's what the companies who have thrived during this time have figured out, is that things have to be delivered to people's homes. Things have to be easy to get. They have to be available curbside. This pandemic has been twofold in way of a physiological and a psychological, and different people are in different places. So you need to be able to accommodate them in whatever mindset they're in and offer the content in a way that they can consume it.
Sure. Derek, would you concur with those thoughts?
Oh, 100%. It's all about the strategy of the experience that you're looking to create. And then on the same token, though, this pandemic has really opened our eyes to creating liberated experiences so that everyone has the equal opportunity to learn, to participate, to share. And so as we think of creating hybrid experiences, while every event technically could be a hybrid experience, to your point, not every event needs to be, even though we can actually do that. And the biggest component, though, in all of that is ensuring that the engagement is the same or at a high level for both attendees, that all attendees are getting the same thing from the actual experience. And that then directly correlates to, like mentioned before, your strategy.
Sure, thank you. And Liz, I guess the conversations you might be having with some of your clients at the moment, I know you work specifically within the financial services sector. Are you having those conversations about whether, they feel it should be virtual only or physical only or hybrid?
Yes, we've gone down this road so many times. I can't tell you how many different budgets I've made, how many different project plans I've made for different iterations of the same event. It's crazy. I think for us, the big conversation is around value add, and that seems to fall in line with generally how people are feeling, whether it's corporate events, whether it's social events, like, is there a benefit to offering an opportunity for people to participate virtually? I think we all know too, hybrid events are expensive. Like, it's basically producing 2 concurrent events, and that takes 2 teams, 2 sets of resources, and it oftentimes can double your budget. So one thing we're always going back to is, are we getting out of this what we're potentially putting into it? So from the financial services perspective, we're working on building relationships, building meaningful connections. And sometimes it's challenging for us to go through this process of looking at our options of virtual, in-person, or hybrid, and to make hybrid make sense, because sometimes it just doesn't for us.
Thank you. And hello to the individual that said they're watching from Edinburgh. So we have an international audience. Lovely place. We're going to get into the first topic that we're going to talk about today, which we labeled data. So many data sets out there, so much data to be collected. And achieving marketing KPIs is the title of the webinar. And if we all accept that virtual and hybrid events present a unique number of data capture opportunities, how do we start to decide which ones are the most important? I'm going to come back to you, Liz, just to muddle up the order a bit. So what's your view in terms of how do we start to decide which data points are the most important to capture?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's almost been overwhelming how much data we've been able to capture. It's a process that we haven't really gone through before for in-person events. So trying to understand what we can get out of the data, but also really being mindful of our long-term data comparison models. Like, we might not have this data forever. So what are we going to do when we go back to in-person, or we have hybrid and we're comparing virtual attendee data versus in-person attendee data? That's a big challenge for us, is understanding how we compare apples to oranges. So although we are very pro collection of data through our virtual platforms that have all been obviously secured and safe for all of our clients, we are very mindful of using it in a way that can be carried forward to the future. So we don't want to produce inconsistencies for people within the firm or for the clients who are looking to this data as well to plan their future relationship management strategies.
Sure, and thank you. And I guess, Derek, same question to you. Obviously, there are so many things you can measure and maybe bring to life some of them. And it goes back to Dave's point about objective setting, I guess. But where do you start in terms of the things you want to capture? Do you capture everything and try and benchmark those? What's your view?
Right. So, I mean, our industry as a whole has been fairly bad at leveraging data. Let's just go back to that fundamental level there. And so in this space of virtual, we've been able to now facilitate asking the right questions so that we can collect more information about who's there and then look at who's not in that space and how individuals are acting versus the way that they said that they would act, i.e., I'm going to participate in this session. Actually, you didn't go to this session, you did this instead. And then taking that information and being able to create a customized solution for the individual, because ultimately people come to meetings to solve problems. I'm either going to learn about solving a problem that's happening now or in the future. I'm going to meet someone that's going to help me solve that problem today or tomorrow, or I'm going to cultivate a community where I can give my insight on solving problems, anything from leadership to technical capabilities. And so as we think about leveraging data, for me, it's all about the individual participant and being able to take that information and create a solution for them that navigates their space, that gives them the information, the connections that they need to be successful in the future. And so I know we're going to talk about technology later,
Sure.
But artificial intelligence is a tool that is out there for us to leverage. And I truly think it's really in the scope of being able to take this data and create a solution for individuals out there to really harness this information in a proper way.
Thank you. And I guess saying, Dave, obviously Elation is a data intelligence company. So, data's in the title. So I'm sure you've got lots of views. And actually, we got a question in which maybe you can reference. What do the speakers think is the best data that we now get with online events? So give us your view on the whole sort of data conundrum.
Yeah, I think if you told everyone at, WEC or Convene or one of the big conferences, hey, we're slapping GPS chips on you and we're going to track all your activity at a live event, they all would have freaked out. But that's what we can essentially do now with online events. By the way, I have a personal vendetta against the term virtual, but that's my own thing, because I think when you send boxes, it's no longer a virtual event. It's a real event because you have to track so many boxes and tracking numbers. And anyways, it's all the stress of a real in-person event.
We'll do a one-on-one chat with you about that another time.
Yeah, that's another thing. But that's what we have the power to do now. We can understand which sessions really caught people's interest. We can see how many questions got asked. You can use technology to leverage how many people upvoted a question, how many people engaged with this question, how many people liked this question. There's a lot of opportunity there to really figure out, okay, well, we built A, B, and C. What performed, and what do we need to bring back to the next one, and what do we need to focus on? Because right now we're all, like it or not, we're all living in this iterative mindset where it's constantly tweaking and building, and we're evolving day by day, event by event, and we have the opportunity to measure that. And I think, based on the word cloud in the beginning, based on what everyone said here, I think, and I think these two things kind of go hand in hand, is engagement really covers attendee experience as well, because if those attendees are engaged, they're enjoying what they're doing, and they're paying attention. And that's the big thing we all have to kind of struggle with right now, is keeping people's attention. So for us, we have kind of two terms we use, ROI and ROE. And I sit in the marketing department, so most of our stuff is ROI. How many dollars did you spend? How many MQLs? How many sequels? How many sals, etc. Like, it's all fairly black and white. And then we use an ROE model for our internal events, where we spend money on employees for events, and that ROE stands for return on emotion. And we simply ask people. I mean, we can see the proof in the pudding when we go and pull the reports on the event, but we also actively still survey them so that we can verify that what they're saying is matching what they did.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. If I could jump in, I think Dave makes a really good point here on the iterative nature of what we're doing. We have data, and we have instant data, right? Like, we get data back immediately. And that means that if you have another event in 2 weeks, which is hosted virtually hybrid. However, if it has some kind of virtual component, sorry, Dave, for the V word, then we're able to make changes to that almost immediately, and we're able to adapt so quickly, and that's a huge advantage. But it also creates like almost a paradox of choice. Like, at what point can we say that we're being successful? I think that comes back to like obviously this whole KPI discussion. Like, at what point have we completed a successful virtual or hybrid event? And that's like a question that I think we have been asking and will all continue to ask, because we've all been put on a level playing field at this point. So at this point, how do we use the data? How quickly can we use it? Should we always be using it as quickly as we can, or as quickly as we're getting it back? I think those are all things that, at least from my perspective, we're all still grappling with and learning from. And it might just be a constant lesson to learn.
Sure. Yeah, and to the point of what Liz was saying, the power of choice. It's the idea. I look at the sponsors and exhibitors, for example, and the leads that you get when someone is walking down a trade show floor or actually clicking on a banner. On site, in person, we can't really quantify the engagement level from the attendee to the sponsor. However, virtually we can. And so when we have a hybrid experience, you have the opportunity to engage your participants in new and creative ways. And so I think that piece of it is a direct correlation to one of the key components that really separates virtual from the in-person experience. But when you're combining the two together and you merge your engagement, your in-person engagement along with your virtual together, so that you're facilitating, for example, one space where people are going to communicate, to drive conversations during your presentations, outside of the presentation space. That's where you capture that information, and then you can directly correlate it to your partners, which are the people who are, in essence, sponsoring and helping your events thrive.
Sure, I think you're right. And I think, look, what comes through that, there's so many things to measure: event turnout, speaker popularity, session response, speaker analytics, but really attendee engagement sort of encapsulates and wraps those. And I want to move on to, if we agree that one major KPI is audience participation, right, at an event, whether it's physical, hybrid, or virtual, and engagement, do we feel that, so, maybe before the pandemic, content was king, but do we now think event experience and the experience that the attendee has trumped that, or do we think that's too binary and they're both important? What do we think that the priority is for attendees? So I'll go to you, Liz, first.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I come again from the perspective of the corporate financial services world. So we're not tying a lot of our events, at least for the group that I work with, to like entertainment. We're not doing a lot of flashy things. We're not creating a lot of like interactive experiences. Our attendees want to connect with their clients. So that always has to be our top priority. So it's been interesting, actually, because we started from a place, kind of what we've all been talking about, like, what can we throw at people? Like questions, polls, like we want this, we want these resources, we want these links, we want them to interact in these ways. We didn't find that was the most successful way to really get at our number one objective, which we boiled down to connecting clients together and creating meaningful relationships, honestly, in the short, medium, long, and super long term. So for us, it's content 100% is the main goal for all of this, and that we want to create meaningful connections based off of the face-to-face time we can provide virtually for all of our clients together.
Sure, thank you. And obviously the content, as ever, has to be relevant. Derek, just a question that's come in for you, and it's relevant to what we're talking about now, about content and experience and engagement. You said that we can engage participants in new and creative ways. Can you share an example of that? Maybe either of one.
No pressure.
No. So
you said it, so we want.
I did say it. I'm going to hold myself responsible for it. No, yeah. It's the idea of the experience. To what Liz was just mentioning there, and for example, let's take gamification. This one thing that has been in the virtual world, where there's this leaderboard and there's this passiveness of me clicking on things. But now let's take a step back. What is gamification? What is gaming? It's the idea of me interacting with something the way that the system wants me to get to another level. And then each level, I get something different. I become more powerful. I have more accessibility to things. I maybe open doors or avenues to make life easier. Taking that same philosophy and applying it to the hybrid experience, where we have a user journey that we want people to go down. And if you successfully execute in that journey, maybe other doors then open that don't exist for your passive attendee that's just going to sit in and maybe not participate in the way that you want them to. So in essence, you're creating then an experience that is more meaningful to the attendee. You're driving then the engagement down an avenue that you and your partners, maybe your content specialists, want your attendees to go down, because you understand how that's going to benefit them or be successful for the organization. And then you're creating kind of a sense of this FOMO almost within the event experience, to where you may allow green room access for everyone that participated in the Q&A session, in this session, and then went to 5 partners, or where you're on the trade show floor and you've done a passport and you've executed in this way, then you get to participate in this virtual activity with the keynote speaker. Creating these type of activities that is based off of kind of this gamification mentality is an idea or another opportunity to really bring your participants into the full experience that you're creating.
Sure.
I'd love to give a 101 version of that, because I think, Derek, that's awesome. I think there's a lot of people that may not necessarily be at that level yet. And we had some luck with something that was really kind of like stupid simple. And it exploded our chat. So last year we decided to do our customer conference essentially online. And we found a video on YouTube of a guy dressed up as Bigfoot playing the saxophone. And he goes by the name of Saxsquatch. And I was like, you know what? Let's drop this. We're doing all our slides on G Slides. I was like, let's drop this on the entry slide and just let it roll. And as people roll into the event, it's like walk-in music. People lost their minds. It was amazing to see people just react to it. And the chat is like, what is happening right now? What am I looking at? I don't understand. It was fantastic. So that surprise and delight can still be done on a very simple level as well. But what's great is I think everyone knows we're in this new space. And so there's an opportunity. There's more forgiveness than there's ever been from an attendee experience, and you can take some risks. I know that sounds scary to us. I mean, my coffee cup, right? Let me overthink it. And we all want to be perfect all the time because that's what we go for. But we have this little bit of wiggle room that we've never really had before, where we can take chances and catch people off guard. And what we found is it put people in a mindset of, I don't know what to expect anymore. I better pay attention.
And here is Sasquatch. No, I haven't got him. We should do. I should have got him. Thank you for that. Dave, how important is it to create unique experiences for those that are attending in person and those that are attending virtually? Because we don't always do that.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity to create experiences for both sets of people, as well as there are some chances for those two to blend. I think the people online shouldn't get discounted for being online because you don't know why they're online. It could be they're not able to travel or they don't want to travel. Either way, who cares? They're there, so they deserve to get a full experience. Just like the people in the room, they made the effort to get on a plane and get there, and they deserve and they get their own experience. The reason why I used the Olympics term earlier is because we've been doing theoretical hybrid in sporting events for years, the Super Bowl, all of these things. But now tech is kind of catching up where we can really indulge those people that aren't in person and give them an even better and elevated experience than just sitting there and watching. So I think there's some great tech out there. I don't know that Q&A will ever go to a okay, let's look at what the questions are online. Let's look at what the questions are in person. I think everyone's going to ask questions via their phone, and everyone will be able to upvote questions, and the best questions are going to get answered. The days of Comic-Con and people lining up behind a microphone, if there's an online component, that's just silly. There's no reason that people can't just ask their questions in one integrated format. That screen is is on the downstage monitor, and the questions are just there, and everyone gets access to all the questions, and they can vote. And so I think there's opportunities for both, and the tech has really caught up at a mind-blowing pace that's getting to the point of intimidating now. But yeah, I think your online attendee is just as important as your in-person attendee.
No, absolutely. And Liz, just from your experience, and maybe you can bring an example, sorry to put you on the spot, but in conversations you have with clients about making sure the experience virtually may be different to in person, can you just give us a view and maybe some examples?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of client conferences coming up, obviously in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months, that we're going through the same process that we're all going through. So what is the objective? How can we make the format of this conference most appropriate for the objective that we're looking to achieve? Actually, for us, it's so funny that you say that, Dave. Our primary goal is to make the virtual and in-person attendee experience exactly the same. We need all those people to feel their access is completely equal. That's mainly obviously because we come from financial services, and we have to make sure, like you said though, Dave, that no client feels like they're getting a lesser experience. So for us, that means making them totally the same. Again, we're content driven. So we want people to see the presenting clients at our conferences, full stop. And we want to provide the most ease of access. It's so exciting hearing you guys talking about gamification and all these cool things. We would probably not ever go down that road, because we need people to click and be there. And that's kind of the messaging that we've gotten from feedback from our clients. I don't want to go through a process. I don't want to have to achieve anything. I don't want to have to work for this. This is something that I've already earned by being a client of the firm. So that's where the work has already been put in. Getting access to our conferences, our events, our content is already enough for them to feel like they've earned an equal opportunity to absorb everything that we have to offer. So it's interesting. It's definitely just a different perspective, but we're doing very much as much as we can the same for everybody. And that applies for a specific examples to conferences throughout the winter and next spring, probably, which will be virtual. Which will be hybrid. Sorry. Yeah. So.
Thank you. I think you make some great points there. Right, we're going to go back to the question that we asked at the beginning. In one word, what's your most challenging KPI to achieve? And hopefully in a few seconds, people that are watching can see the word cloud, and the panel should be able to see the word cloud as well. We've got a raft of answers here: registrations, marketing KPIs, watch, quota time, sustainability, diversity. The ones that are jumping out off the page, maybe not unsurprisingly, are leads and sales and engagement. And actually, I had a couple of questions come in, and I'm going to go straight to you, Dave. How can we get more leads from our events?
Yeah, I think one of the things, I saw someone post something. I don't remember who it was, and I apologize to whoever they were. But I saw a post that said, if you have a virtual booth, you need different signage. And I started thinking about it. And so that's one of the things that we did immediately. We started rethinking what our graphics were. And it's like, logo goes here. Yeah, no, logo with our tagline now goes there. The fact that you have full power over your creative, and this is going to be a glance. This is no longer, you don't have the opportunity a lot of times to go out and say, and you catch that poor unfortunate soul making eye contact with you, and you say, hi, how are you? And they're like, dang it, they got me. You don't get to do that anymore. So your signage has to be captivating. And we are all of a sudden billboard designers, and we have to catch people's attention in fractions of a second with what our booth signage is now. And it's got to be a little more inventive and creative than it used to be. because when they are scrolling through the list of vendor after vendor after, like, yours has to stand out in somehow, some way to drive those leads. You also got to, on the front end of your contracting, you got to negotiate. There's a lot of them that are like, oh, you get what you get. And I say, okay, well, then we're out. And they go, well, why? What? Huh? And I'm like, if we're going to spend X, we have to make X multiplier of at least MQLs. That's it. That's how we're being measured. If we spend this, we have to 3-5x it in our MQLs. That's the end of the story. And if you can't help me figure that out, then I can't do your event. Plain and simple. And if you can negotiate those terms and define success, I think this is also where you're going to figure out where someone's like, God love them, a salesperson versus like someone who's partner sales and understands that it is a partnership. It's not you buy a booth, you're responsible for making it work, as opposed to someone who's like, I'm selling this event, I want to see you be successful. Those people are going to show up real quickly when you start negotiating and you have your objectives and how you're going to define return on investment from investing in those trade shows laid out. That's going to be a big thing.
Sure. Thank you. Derek, anything that sort of jumps out to you there?
Oh yeah, definitely. So just like Dave hates the word virtual, I hate calling virtual exhibit booths.
There's lots of hate in the room. Come on, bring the love back.
Because they're not booths. It's a gallery of exhibitors. It's a gallery of partners that you're viewing online, unless it's a 3D area that you're navigating. And so as we think about the way that people consume information and that empower consumer online, the different personas of individuals that are coming to our experience, whether in person or virtual or in a hybrid sense, i.e. I'm participating in person, but virtually, there's different ways that they're going to consume information. So 100% to what Dave was mentioning, the idea that we have to now reimagine the way that we're communicating ourselves, our messages to our participants is so vital in this space. And your virtual attendee, your in-person attendee, and your hybrid attendee are going to all consume this information in different ways, and different things are going to attract them. Different communication messages are going to bring them in, and they're going to react to things in different ways based off of the individual personas that exist within your community. And it goes back to the idea of centralizing your strategy around the individual, being a very user-centric organization, or having a user-centric mentality where you're focused on the individual and maximizing that individual's access and education and connection within the confinements of whatever ecosystem that they're in.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you both bring up a great point, which is like something we're all always thinking about. What is our role as the event planner? Like, what is our value add? And it's shifted so much, obviously, as we've gone virtual and hybrid. And just like each attendee has a unique individual experience, each presenter has a unique individual experience and set of skills that they bring to the table. So in virtual and hybrid, we're depending so much more on each individual attendee or presenters or whomever's ability to successfully interact with your event or present at your event. And so our value add as planners has completely shifted. Like, we need, just like you were both saying, like, we need to be the ones showing them, like, you have to do this for your booth, or in our case, like, you have to do this for your presentation to successfully solicit more connections. So our role as event planners had just, like, I mean, for us in the corporate world, we're like obviously now Zoom experts and experts in every possible virtual platform there is. But it's very much about the individual experience of both the attendee and the presenters, and making sure that people feel like you're their partner, you want success for them, you want them to succeed at participating in your conference.
Thank you. So thank you everyone that gave us your one word there, and hopefully there were some really valuable answers for you and suggestions. The next question we're going to ask, and then we'll put the results up in a few minutes. In one word, what is the most important thing for your tech partners to provide? So, in one word, what is the most important thing for your tech partners to provide? And we will discuss your comments in the next few minutes. So, going to move on. Commercial opportunities. So, we understand that there are unique opportunities that virtual and hybrid events offers, say compared to physical events. I'll come first to you, Dave. What do you see as the unique commercial opportunities in this environment?
For us, we were. Yeah, I have a feeling Derek is going to nail this one on the head.
Derek.
Are you passing this to me? Perfect. So,
yeah. This is your wheelhouse, man. I think one of the things events people one of the things events people do better than anything else is know when they don't know what they're doing.
No, so I mean, I think about the 360 approach and engaging your participants, or 365 approach, engaging your participants before, during, and after. And within that experience, you're going to have these opportunities, again, because going back to a point earlier, people are coming to solve their problems. So how can you directly connect your partners who are there supporting your experience to the actual problem solving based off of their products or services? And so as you think about the content, directly connecting then the vendors, the exhibitors, the sponsors to that specific message. And it can be even the organization strategy for X company is this. They may not have a direct product or service in that space, but they have a core value proposition in that area. And then you can then you really facilitate that connection between why me solving this problem with the people who care about me solving this problem, sure. And then create then higher lead generations for then your sponsors and partners at the very end of the day. Obviously, when we are in person, we have the opportunity when people are coming in the door to facilitate kind of that live pre-roll slide orchestration, and then obviously afterwards too. Sometimes depending upon your sessions, you may have a break in the middle, and that's another opportunity. But then you take then all of that space and you think about the virtual world where technically you could have all of those pre-roll slides or commercials accessible prior to the experience. And again, under themed areas where I know that, oh wait, I'm really focused on innovation in the meeting and event space. These are the partners that are doing stuff in that space. I'm going to watch a few of them. And hopefully you're using then artificial intelligence to then connect you to those meaningful sessions or commercials. But then from there, then you're also then repurposing them during the experience. And then again, through technology, showing then your attendees who have a direct correlation to solving those meaningful concerns with the partners that, again, have a direct connection.
Sure. Thank you. You make some great points. Just Liz, briefly, how can we improve sponsors' experience and our commercial partners' experience at events and improve their own ROI, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, once again, like this is definitely not in my wheelhouse. We don't often partner with anyone who's benefiting commercially from any of the conferences that we're hosting. But we do like to feature our clients. Like that's a big goal for us. Sure. And I think that it kind of just goes back to what we were all talking about before, is just making sure that you're an active partner and like granting success to the people who are participating in your conference, because that's going to be successful for all of you. Like you really want the objective of the whole team to be the same, and that includes clients and anyone participating.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be the worst possible person to or / best when it comes to when we get to that phase where we introduce partners, because I know all the things I look for. I know all the things I want when we go to a show and what we're looking to accomplish. I intentionally deflected because all I was going to do is complain about all the things I wish I had. Yeah. And there's some shows that get it and there's some shows that don't. And I think when I get approached by those shows that don't get it, I'm just going to send them to Derek and say, you need to have a conversation with this man and reevaluate your conference.
So Liz made a good point she wants every experience to be the same for the virtual attendee and the in-person attendee. But I think the partner experience is the one that's elevated. That's the experience that has the opportunity to go above and beyond what it would be in either space by participating in a hybrid experience. Because again, you get the higher lead retrieval. Again, when you have a centralized engagement tool where everyone is like to David's point, submitting your questions to your speakers as opposed to going to that microphone in the room. Then your virtual attendees are in there, your in-person attendees are in there, and then you see them clicking around, and you're able to take those analytics and give them to the people at the organization that really need it instantly. Back to Liz's earlier point, and then on top of that, then you have the in-person experience where you can actually interact with folks. You don't have to send as many people to that dedicated space because now you're maximizing then your engagement in multiple spaces. So I think for the sponsor or for the exhibitor, that experience is way elevated in a hybrid world versus the participant experience, which should be the same. Petting zoo over here with dogs. All right, you're virtually, here's some dogs. You may not be able to pet them, but
here's a puppy cam.
Yeah, a puppy cam. There we go.
Okay, so we're going to move on from puppy cams. We've got about 10 minutes. Post-event strategy. So, we spent a bunch of dollars or pounds or euros, depending where you are in the world. You've recruited a new database of attendees. What are the key tactics, do we think, in order to turn these attendees into loyal and returning attendees and engaged customers? I'll come to you, Dave, on this one.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen change recently is there is a new amount of privacy laws that we should all be aware of and make sure that we are contracting in. I know our legal team has really taken CCPA and GDPR, if you're familiar with what those terms are, and integrating them into our contracts now, basically saying that if we reach out to people after an event and they say, I never gave you my information, I'm going to sue you. The show is now held financially responsible for that because they gave us the wrong list or whatever. So there's a fun, exciting legal term to add to your contracts. But I think we have this, for the most part, one of the things that I have found ridiculous with some shows is they're like, oh, yeah, we'll have the list to you in 2 weeks. And I'm like, are you mailing it to us? Are you printing it out on a dot matrix printer and going to send it through what? 2 weeks? What is going on? The point being is we have an opportunity to act much faster. And in car sales, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. There's an anti-cooling off period because when someone gets excited about something, they're going to act and keep doing things. And that's how they close car sales. And the next morning you wake up and you go, oh crap, I just bought a new car. Derek's pointing to himself. So there's an anti-cooling off law so that people can't show up the next morning with new car regret and give it back. Sure. So the idea is if we engage someone and they are having a positive engagement with us at the event, we're sponsoring in a gallery, Derek, just for you, or we're putting on presentation, we're hopefully moving and compelling them in some way so that when we hit them with the follow-up, they keep engaging and we can jump on that. There's no reason to dilly-dally and waste time. Have your follow-up scheduled, have it ready to go, have it already written. Maybe if you can, this is even better, tweak it a little bit if something interesting happened or there was a question that got a lot of traction in a session, or add something so that it doesn't feel 100% canned, but capture that excitement and their post event thrill to keep the conversation going.
Sure, thank you. And Liz, just give us your summary in terms of post event strategy. What are the sort of tactics that you employ to keep people sort of glowing from the event?
Yeah. One of the biggest benefits for us and something that's very different from live events, obviously, is replays. I think we've all benefited from the longevity of content that lives online. So we often communicate very quickly. And this is kind of something, that we have to decide on a case by case basis because it relates back to this idea of exclusivity and like who we're offering content to when and how special we want them to feel and how exclusive we want it to be or how widespread we're okay with content being. But a lot of what we concentrate on post event is obviously making sure that any partners we work with in terms of virtual platforms are very secure and obviously private. And we're super, super concerned about making sure that all of our clients' information never gets to anyone it shouldn't go to. But within the firm or within the team that is allowed to have that information, we follow up definitely with most of the time replays so that we keep people engaged. We offer them the opportunity to look back on information. I think that if we hit them with that, like we try and do that the next day so that people haven't already put this, in the back of their minds. And then we actively work with other teams within the firm. I think this goes along with everyone having to be kind of on the road to the same objective. We work with sales. We work with all the people in our firm who can do those active follow-ups so that we're kind of coming at them from all angles. So we provide the content and we provide the tools to the sales team to follow up, make sure that those connections stay long-term, and we get those people back next time.
Sure, thank you. And Derek, finally to you on this.
Yeah, Liz mentioned 24 hours. That's your window to reconnect with your participants. And if you are creating a centralized area for people to engage in during your event, i.e. your virtual attendees and your in-person attendees, that's the space that you want to continue to drive them towards. And creating, again, a customizable, personalized email for the individual participant based off of their experience that they just had is also very, very vital to ensuring that you're bringing them into the folds of your online communities and sharing relevant resources to them to, again, solve their problems of today and tomorrow.
If I got an email after an event that said, you attended this session, here's the slides, you attended this session, here's the slides, like that would be, and that's where we're getting towards. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying you attended the session and you didn't, which
agreed.
Sometimes
you said you wanted to go to this session. Here are the slides because you missed it.
It's language. Language is important. Language is important, right?
Yeah.
And here's the slides from the session you actually went to. Yes, we know.
Okay, moving swiftly on. Just the results of the second question. So we asked the question in one word. What's the most important thing for your tech partners to provide? I'll come to you, Dave. So we've got reliability, security, analytics, interactivity, continuity. The big ones here seem to be support and integration. Give us your view, please.
I would say a bigger one is partnership. Personally, for me, I want someone that that wants to see me successful over just selling me their software. Someone that says, okay, what's important to you? Why are you using us for this event? What are you looking to accomplish? I want that consultative, problem-solving sales solution, not here's our box, do you want it or not?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Liz, over to you in terms of considerations that marketers should give when deciding which platform to choose. What's your priority, or is it based on the objectives you want to achieve? I guess as well, right?
I mean, we always come back to the objective. I would say number one, which would seem blanket for me across the spectrum, is security. We need to keep everybody's information safe, and we need to make sure that everyone goes into these virtual events giving us their email or their name or whatever, submitting questions, knowing that they will not end up with somebody they shouldn't be. But off of Dave's point, like I think there's a big benefit to sharing the same goal and the same objective. We want partners and virtual platforms who are going to say, here's all of the things we can do based on what you've explained to us that you need to happen for this event, instead of handing us a platform and saying like, okay, figure it out. And we've been put in that position where it's like we're constantly digging and searching for different ways to make the platform work for us. And then we found other partners who were like, here's how our platform can work for you. And that's like night and day, because then our concentrations can go into so many other things that we need to think about. We're not experts on virtual platforms, and we depend so heavily on these virtual platforms for the success of our events. It's so vital to know that those people, first of all, know how to work their own platform, which is not necessarily something that is always true. Sure. And also that they know how to make it work for us specifically.
Thank you. And same to you, Derek, in terms of that word cloud. Anything?
Yeah. So I mean, I think about I'm moving now. As Liz was speaking, my brain was going. I was thinking, okay, I'm moving from a virtual platform to an event platform. That's one that is for the virtual audience and the in-person audience, all in one, because that's where ultimately we want and should be in the space of large-scale events. And so the thing for me is the customized accessibility. So that how is your platform allowing me to create an equal opportunity, again, for everyone to have access to everything within the within the event experience or event experience.
Sure, thank you. And just quickly, obviously data's come up there, and I guess the ability to capture data, but also at the moment, data ownership is a hot topic, right? So, choosing the tech partner, looking at the T's and C's, who owns the data, the content, and everything else. Is that something that you guys are considering as well as important? I don't know who wants to take that one quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak, from like a corporate perspective. Obviously, working at larger firms, we have a lot of different hoops that people need to jump through. So if we have virtual platforms who come to us offering services and they can't make it past our security architecture team, like forget about it. So I think that's like a big thing if you're working for a huge company, if you're working for a small company or a startup or for yourself, like that to me should always be the number one kind of like filter that people need to pass your test. And you have to have high expectations and high standards as to what they will protect on your behalf.
Sure.
Yeah, we can't use any event tech without it going through our IT security team first.
Yeah.
Sure. And what other considerations in terms of other suppliers, not just event tech, I guess event production and design, what other areas are people looking at?
Well, production is huge in the space of experience creation now more than ever, because again, you have the empowered consumer out there that I'm easily distracted. And so to keep my attention, you have to pull me in somehow. And having a high level of production is another way of executing or delivering the experience to the participant to actually have them engage a little bit more than they would if you didn't have that level of engagement.
So our time is up. Time flies when you're talking about achieving marketing KPIs through hybrid.
Or when you're having fun with all of us.
That's it. I'd love to continue this session. Maybe we can offline, but we have reached the end. Thank you so much to everyone that's watched live. If you've registered, you will get sent a link for the on-demand version as well, so you can look back at it and forward it on. And thanks also to those that are watching on demand. Do head over to glisser.com for updates on their event tech platform and future events. But finally, many thanks to today's panelists for your time and your insights. And I know Dave specifically, the fact you got up at 6 a.m. So Dave Stevens from Elation, thank you so much. Liz Jordan.
By the way, we just put if you want to see Sack Squatch, she's on our LinkedIn on Elation. Just we just released a new ad and I'm so happy about it.
Wow.
So type in Elation into LinkedIn. And Derek Johnson from Tally Management, thank you so much. I look forward to speaking to you all again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great rest of your day.